And we're live. What's up, everybody? It's Slaan here again. 3 days in a row, man. What's going on? We had a bit of a weird stream yesterday where I was trying to fix some of the project prefabs with Pills Editor, getting rid of all the missing blocks. And it turns out that there's actually a little bug with his editor. So I'm just going to quickly flash up that just to show you what I've done. Is that on there? Yeah. And then we're looking at the exchanger. Yeah. So you'll see here, the problem that I had is I was using the ID, or if you click into a block here off the list, you get the ID number, then the colon, and then the name. Now, nothing that I tried seemed to work, so I had sent Pill a message on Discord, and he had mentioned, I think it was 17, or was it 18? They changed the block naming sort of scheme, and he had says try it with just the ID, which still didn't work. But it turns out you've just got to use the actual block names. So if I wanted to replace terrain snow, then that's basically what it would be. Yay! So with that said, everything's right. I'm saying everything's done. The block replacer works now, or I can make it work. So I'm gonna have a skim through the prefab editor itself, going through all of my project prefabs, and we'll actually crack on with just trying to fix things up and getting them ready. I'd like to get the project map, like the demo map that I was showing, back up and running, more so that I've got something I can share with people where they can see these little prefab groups that I've made all sort of laid out and me actually using them. Because I still think it feels a bit weird that people download a prefab pack with prefabs that you can't just add to the editor, add to the game in the random world mixer and just have them spawn and be nice, and you know what you're going to do with a 10-meter section of street with a lamppost on it, you know. So we will get rid of exchanger and let's get into the editor. So this is mainly going to be, we'll have a spy, see what the damage is. Apparently the densities on the highway are set correctly. There might be some new interaction with the terrain blocks just wanting to be sucked into the floor. So I'm not going to worry too much about fixing the road sinking into the map for now. We'll approach that another time, because I can use Pills Editor just to, if I've got to change the densities on the asphalt and only the asphalt to a particular value to stop it from happening, then that's easy done all in one go. So where do we start? Let's just go to the first category, airport. These are fairly straightforward. I don't even think I'm going to do much touching up with. They kind of need rebuilt, I think, more than anything. So, I mean, there can be no harm, I suppose, in just fixing these little bits here. Is it going to be on face? Yeah. Oh. And off we go. Is that needing doing on that side? Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to spend massive amounts of time. We'll get rid of these silly things though, because they do look stupid. And most of the time, when I do actually come to using these prefabs, I'll tend to copy this into a new prefab and then touch it up and make it a little bit unique anyway. Needs painted as well. And I'm sure this prefab is, or this plane was built by Lasman in Alpha 12. I think there was a POI that he made that spawned in the wilderness in the compo pack using this prefab. I mean, we probably thought it looked like the tits back then, but now there's a lot of improvements that we can make to things like this, but I'd rather just get things usable at the minute. And the beautiful thing is, because of the way I've built the project map, a lot of the time just dropping these prefabs in individually, saving changes to these prefabs now is fixing the map at the same time, because it's just these prefabs that are referenced. Oh god. Right. Oh, I'm going to do that. And I'm still yet to really get onto the forums and see what sort of new prefabs the community's made. I'm hoping that in a year-long break, or wait, it's about 14 months I think, over 14 months since I actually released anything. So I'm kind of expecting about 7 different versions of the combo pack that I've missed, and hopefully a whole bunch of other new cool stuff. I see Pill finished his boat. I keep getting the occasional messages off Commander Sundog, who's another friend I've got on Discord, showing us crazy stuff that he's been building. There seems to be a lot more prefabs and custom builds kicking around on Facebook as well. Though I must say it's quite disheartening to see that a lot of the time they don't get released to the public. It's just play on our server on this special cool looking map, or don't play on it at all, which is a little bit shit. So what I'll do. Bridges. Now these are mainly going to be missing probably traffic on the roads. What? No thumbnail. Was it F7? Yes. No, I don't need to do that for the thumbnail though, do I? I just did it itself. Update thumbnail. Let's save you. Yeah, cool. These are just the base bridge sections. These will be fine. I remember this now. So this is what I was just hinting at before. You know, if I'm going to make a new prefab, then you just take something that's already done, and then you make something new out of it, and you've now got 2 prefabs instead of 1. Right, I'm just going to take a thumbnail of this one. Try get an angle that kind of shows what it is. Because yeah, I mean, having your editor all grouped and sorted and being able to see exactly what it is you're loading up. Section 09, does this one look familiar? Thumbnail. Supports should be okay. What the fucking hell is this? What a weird. Oh, this is an old section of bridge, Christ. Oh my God, the original highway. Ha ha ha. So anybody who played Project Slaan anyway from Alpha 12 should recognize these things. In fact, I believe this is where I actually joined the bridge in old Project Slaan. We had two of these, believe it or not. Right, I'm not going to do nothing with that one. Building. Ah, now there's me fucking black tower. I knew I'd done one. So this was a prefab that was originally from Alpha 12.5, and it was 3 apartment block by, was it Leo something? It's in the combo pack, so I mean, you know, credit to that guy. But I just liked the style of the building, so I actually tidied this one up. And then I think I chopped it apart because there was this piece and two other smaller buildings all together into one prefab, and I liked it that much that I kind of stole it. uh, yeah, I mean, things like that are just ready to be copy pasted and changed. Oh, my posh little oriental style door as well. And this needs finished because this is actually pretty good. Where's the entrance? So again, this was another Slaan prefab. This is one of the few standalone prefabs that I made that I should probably finish and just release as a standalone. Again, it was the skyscraper taken out of the compo pack. I cannot remember the original creator. I basically stripped his design right back, modified it slightly, and then made this lovely tower. Blue lift doors? I don't recall. But yeah, I put a lot of effort into this one. It is quite nice. In fact, let's just have a little walk on that. What's the FPS like in this one? Yeah, reflections are taking the toll. I don't know where this blue fucking paint's come from, but other than that, it seems like it's in pretty decent condition. So let's go up into the tower proper. And by the way, if you are watching the video on YouTube, like after the stream's over, catch us online. I'd love to have a chat with people, talk some prefab. I feel like in the olden days I was more of a show people nothing of what I was doing and then release a video once every couple of months of like a little guide or a release video, something like that. And I think the win-win situation for us is to go a little bit 50-50, just stream everything that I do, and then when the occasion calls for it, maybe put together a more thought out video or tutorial or something like that. I'd like to update the prefab editor tutorial. I think I can do a better job of that. Incorporate some of the new features. But yeah, this is a fucking damn nice prefab if I don't. I mean, look at TVs in the toilets, man. I mean, don't get us wrong. The layout of the skyscraper itself was really good. So by the time I tied it back, stripped all the floors down, I think there's only like 7 actual floors or 8 floors. Just a big dirty arse office building. Oh, the boardroom as well. I remember the boardroom. I forgot how much. This definitely isn't finished. I mean, I know there's no sleepers, but again, if you're familiar with the prefab, I know Magoli will be watching this. Like, I know that place. Just all the different rooms being touched up. Sure. Ah, that's a barricaded one. I'm sure I barricaded the actual foyer. Yeah, there, here we go. It's just waiting for sleepers, I think, really. I'm absolutely certain I didn't finish it. Must be the upper floors or... Good old lift shaft. Right, here we are. There's no numbers or nothing on the walls now. Yeah, so I think I've probably just painted and... Oh, this is the boardroom. Probably be able to change that with a double door. It's where the fun pimps sit around and decide which mods they're going to break with each alpha. Nah, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. We know that they break all mods with every alpha. So we had a patch of floor there. Was that glass? Yeah. Oh. Yeah, this is definitely I think this needs to be on the to-do list to get finished off, because most of this actually, I don't even remember building these bits for the tills, and it's like the finance floor. This is where you come to get your wages. Some weird kind of structure there. Random. Oh God. There's always one. Oh my God, even the top floor was painted as well. What's going on? Yeah, so the black tower. I think we're definitely going to have to finish that one. Hello, blunderbuns. But yeah, it's very reflective. The thing is I quite like the marbly texture, but I can imagine the complaints of the FPS. I mean, if I'm down to 60 now, that's just in the editor. Though there's nothing stopping highlighting the whole thing and just purging that particular texture for a less intense one. Aha, so this is where I stole it from. What did we save here? Nothing. So this I pulled from, I think I literally just scooped a section of Slaan out. That's the original broken skyscraper. And there's the original 3 apartment block prefab. I think I've still touched this up and repaired it slightly. To be honest, it's been really cool going back through some of my prefab stuff, because like things like the black tower, you forget what kind of state you left things in, and to be honest, there's a lot of almost finished prefabs, you know. This was the original idea for the sewer, and I spun the whole master file out of this one piece. I think I brought this through though and kept converting it so I could actually steal all of these buildings out, because that is another compact building, and you'll see things like there, the textures and all that. This is the problem that you have with prefabs from Alpha 12, is through all the block changes, everything's painted and looks okay, but then you find that actually half of the building's concrete, half of it's bricks, and then Some of these walls are just good old wood. Skyscraper old, they're the ones that I was doing just the other day. Discard unit. I'm just going to take a thumbnail for this one so I remember what it is, because this will always come in handy. Yeah, man, I'm notoriously bad for just starting lots and lots and lots and lots of things and never really finishing anything. But yeah, there's definitely some little old goodies in here. This is probably my favourite prefab that I ever made. I believe this is the up-to-date version as well. Yeah. Though there's something weird goes on with the terrain blocks here, and they want to stretch down to the floor, and I don't know why. Density 128. I remember reading that when you build the blocks and save them with a density of 0, whether it's a block or whether it's a terrain block, the game treats 0 as the default for that block type, which I believe is 127 for your square blocks and minus 127 for the terrain ones. And then if you want them to kind of merge and blend together nicely, you fuck around with both sides of the value. Like the block that you want to blend in and the block that you're blending into, you can fuck around with the densities to make that happen. I think, at least for prefabs like this though, I'll probably purge all of the terrain blocks out if it's going to be too much of an arse to do that. But yeah, so this is one of the buildings out of that the three apartment building. This was all tidied up. And I'd done this with a lot of prefabs, took them to a stage where they were neat and tidy, textures and all that were all in there, but content-wise they don't have a lot in, because I always thought you could build up a dense area of city with the same or similar looking buildings. Like just copy and paste this 3 or 4 times, change the color of the pillars on one of them and give each of them a different layout internally. They could even be the same layout internally and just have varying degrees of damage and stuff built inside of them. And then you've got 3 buildings for the price of 1, basically. You'll get sick of us saying that, because the copy paste runs very, very strong. But again, so there's the studio that was taken out of one prefab, and then I've copy and pasted it again and made a trailer. And it's more or less the same building. I don't think there's actually much going on in this until you get to the floor where the trailer is. Where is he? Yeah, that's the trailer block there. I also thought it'd be nice in the city to have, I'm sure I was going to put a helipad or something up here, but you'd be able to land your gyrocopter on the roof. Not just the art assets, I mean a lot of the decoration blocks as well. And I'm loving, with every alpha, we're losing sort of, how to describe it, like the individual loot containers and getting the random ones. And they seem to be slowly covering all of the different blocks in there as well. So again, it means when the same prefab shows up 3 or 4 times, it's hopefully going to shake the loot up and things like that. Well, they're looking okay. Burn isn't mine. City blocks. All of these city blocks are specific to the project map that I have, and are pretty much useless outside of that, because all of the holes and gaps and pathways are all designed to fit into specific areas of the map. So I think we can skip that one. Commercial is not mine. Construction is though. Again, they've done something wonky with the paint, I think, because I don't remember painting something navy blue like that. Does that have a thumbnail? Well, you can see that in the thumbnail, the original colour. Cream. stolen out of one of the fun pumps prefabs, stolen out of the construction site prefab, where you would have seen us messing around with that yesterday. Freight containers. Ah, so this was for building the dock area. You know, building the base containers and just different variations. So there's the ones that I started with. And each one behind is just a copy paste. Actually, I think that was the original. And then when I was populating the docks, I would just load this prefab up and copy random ones out, because the loot inside, I believe, cars, boxes, I think is there a trader inside of one? Oh, but look at that, concrete doors. Though I'm thinking we might actually be able to just replace that with a double door now. I cannot remember if we had the double doors when... Yeah, so that's like an open barricaded one, biohazard. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. Skips. I'm just laughing at myself because I wonder if people who are outside of the UK would even know what I meant by skip, but they don't look anything like what I remember making them as. That's just the texture that's changed, really. And the warehouse. Oh, this has actually got sleepers and everything in as well. Again, I'm sure I stole this. I think this is out of the junkyard, the pimp's junkyard. Yeah, I've had a brief skim through the menus and stuff, but I keep getting sidetracked building and messing around, and I just need to get these fixed, or to a point where I know I can just leave them and not worry about them. Crane docks. Ah, so here we go. This is the first dock prefab. Don't know why it's missing the upper half of the crane. But again, these were built to fit into specific areas of the map, so they look a bit weird shape-wise. I quite like this one, actually. Ah, I think that was the finished product. These places are just absolute death traps. Where's the... Ah, it's changed the textures as well. Oh, well, not to worry. I mean, these are hardly... The real question is, does this texture show up anywhere else? And I don't think it does. Oh, is that it? That is it. I'm just thinking it might be easier to mass replace that texture with what I want those doors to look like, and then just manually repaint that one. What the hell is that? Fucking oven door. The docks, the thing that I liked about these is obviously when they're sat on the river, them pipes are just over the water level. And then as you look down, you can see the hill just behind, and then the big red sort of suspension bridge. And I've always been a big fan of things don't have to be perfect if the overall image itself, the world people are walking through, as long as it resembles something like what you'd expect, you can get away with cutting corners in a lot of areas, I think. And again, these are things that you can come back to and just touch up over time. It was just finding ways to use up lots of empty space in a map that wasn't just stacking buildings and buildings and buildings together. And a lot of these are made from the pimp's own prefabs. So like this whole part here was built to fit a particular section of the map, and then we just copy and paste the boats. I think this is the one with the little dungeon underneath it, actually. Yeah, filled with fucking terrain. Ah, I must have chopped it off. I'm sure I had a version of this that kept, because there's one of them where you go into you enter the prefab through the tunnel, and there's like a little lab and some loot. Yeah, so I'm mostly happy with those ones. Downtown isn't mine. Government highway. We're going to skip the highway for now because there is so many prefabs in there, and I'm probably going to have to look at them as their own little section anyway. Pimps, pimp. Oh. AAA house scale test? What the hell? I'm just there messing around. I got excited there thinking that they'd started building full streets of things. Industrial, is that? Oh, that's theirs, not mine. Military is definitely mine. Chain fence, barbed wire corner. I'll get a thumbnail on there. Oh. Save that one. I mean, I love me military base. I think this set of prefabs as a set is probably the best set that I've got, considering everything was just ripped out of someone else's prefab. To just take all those little bits. So the hangers. Hanger base. Ah, right, okay. So this is just the basic hanger, ready to copy and paste, fill with different things. This was my attempted quest integration. The quest broke, didn't spawn any fucking sleepers, and there's just all this fucking loot lying around. So when we were actually playing with this one on the map, people were like, "Oh, the military base, you know, that's awesome, full of loot." I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, laughing to myself, thinking, yeah, there's a lot of zombies in there, and this particular building didn't have any. Helipad. Again, that was off the roof of a skyscraper. That's for the runway. Runway. Again, it's just silly little things. And stuff like this looks a bit pointless, but when you actually see the runway area, the military area, and how I've actually used them, that's when the penny starts to sort of drop. And guess how long my runway is? The reason that there's different sections here, as you'll see on the screenshots, to try and just make it look a bit different, actually change up the patterns all the way through. Barriers, they're fine. Sample stuff. I think that was me experimenting with some kind of light tower for the bottoms of the runway. So this was a vanilla prefab. I cannot remember. Which one it was originally. That underneath part is definitely one of the pimps one. And then I stick a couple of tents down, which you'll see are also individual prefabs, as is the tower. There's tent, 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 and do you know what it is? All of these are going to be missing corners, aren't they? Yes. 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 Yeah. Annoying. The thing with sleepers, and when you're looking at prefabs like this, though, is you say, yes, a lot of vultures, but it mostly depends on your game stage, how many of them actually get to spawn. So, I mean, don't get us wrong, I would say I'm very heavy-handed in some areas in terms of the spawn groups and stuff, and as it happens, you are actually correct when you say a lot of vultures, because fucking loads of them will spawn. But there's gun crates and all sorts of shit. This was kind of meant to be, the military area was meant to be a higher difficulty area where you might want to go with a few of your friends in your Jeep and spend an afternoon wasting loads of ammo collecting a load of shit together. to drive back down. But things like this are actually okay. Let me just make a note of the tents. More tents, more tents, tent. Yeah, I'm going to be fixing these for a while. Trenches, I was quite happy with these as well. These, again, were all stolen from the military outposts that the pimps made. You know, rather than just having a predefined. It's all nice being pro high risk, high reward, but in my experience, the reality is it's very hard to gauge. It's even funnier when I was watching people who were streaming playing in Slaan. Just the way that they played and used the city was nothing like I would have expected. You know, they're basing up in buildings that I wouldn't have thought they would use, totally ignoring other things, missing completely other systems that I'd spent ages on, and I'm having to send the messages going, oh no, you need to check under the road. Monorail, I didn't think I actually got as far as designing a train for that. I'm fairly certain though I've seen some good trains. But again, these were all designed to fit into the streets of a set size so that they could be used in the city. So these will fit with the wider roads. And again, I don't think there's anything that's really particularly groundbreaking or amazing, but overall, you know, this previously in a vanilla city would be just nothing. It would just be an asphalt road with a few wrecked cars, and that would probably be it. No, that's not mine. That's not mine. And I was over the moon to discover that azalea bushes now actually sit on the floor. And does that mean when you double them up, they look like proper bushes now? Yeah. They look so fucking stupid floating in the air. But again, just making park space out of empty space. And again, these were designed to fit around a building. I think these go around the cathedral prefab actually. Mini graveyard. I think that's the corner that I never finished. But yeah, you'll notice some of them just have weird little cutouts like that. And that's because where they sit, a building will overlap there. And I'll drop these in without copying air blocks. So, you know, things have to be sort of fit perfectly. Otherwise, it just looks stupid. But, you know, you take the wall off, you extend a little bit of terrain around there, and you could make a standalone wilderness POI park, or even a city-based park, putting a wall all the way around it and just using this as an individual prefab in the mixer, if you were so inclined. But the racetrack. So this was the car park. There's some weird ones in here. Portaloos. Is there actually toilets in them? Yes. Concrete. What the? Ah, I know what they are. They're for the corners on the map. So it looks like you've got the little red and yellow posts. Red and white posts, sorry, around the corners. And again, these fit a particular piece of the map. So it's a bit of a random prefab to have, but it also means, I mean, little decorations like this can have their own mesh files. So you will also see the racetrack in the distance as well, just from the fencing and the guides that kind of run around it. So, Racetrack Garage. Why is there no thumbnails for a lot of these? Again, ripped straight out of the Fun Pimps prefab, I believe. I mean, it'll be different. I would have changed it somehow. But if it's already been done, why do it again? Oh, it's just the lights. And again, even things like this. So this is where the pit lane kind of breaks off from the main racetrack. And I just wanted a way to sort of keep the shape of the track without being able to build triangles, basically. So it looks a bit off, but overall, the end result is actually quite good. And that's obviously the is that by the starting grid? Is that the pit stop? I don't remember. We'll do some thumbnails regardless. And again, this is the end. So you can almost see, if we get out far enough, you've got the big fat main sort of racetrack, and they would come along the pit lane and then back out onto the course. And this was just to make sure that I had decorations, little bits of loot. I could even put zombies and sleepers into these prefabs. So even though in the world you see a bit of a fence and a few little posts, you wouldn't normally associate that with a prefab. With the Slaan map, I mean, are we talking like the original Slaan, like from about Alpha 12.5 to 15, where it was the big 117 by 117 city blocks, river in the middle? Because to be honest, the problem that I had with that style of building, you've got so much going on in each of those prefab sections. I was almost taken on. Ah, right. Well, if you've only seen the Alpha 17 one, then that's cool. I'll not bother explaining the older version. Because the long-winded answer with the older version would be no. It could be brought forward. It would be a lot of work. But the idea at the minute when I'm building the cities is I'm not taking ownership of other people's prefabs. I might build a city block that fits someone else's prefab perfectly. I might drop that prefab into my city, but when Alpha 20 comes out, if it breaks that prefab, I don't want to be the one who's got to fix it. And then all of a sudden, if the original owner fixes it as well, we've got two versions of a prefab that's pretty much the same. And so usually if I'm gonna take something of somebody else's and make it a permanent part of the city, and I cannot be without it for whatever reason, then I'll usually rename the prefab and add it to my collection. So I'll keep its original name going, but it'll get the X custom prefix. And then it means if Magoli updates the compo pack, people can still use his mixer with his selection of prefabs, including the one that I've used. And my edits and changes would just be relevant to the X custom prefab instead. But I try not to take other people's work on as much as possible because the olden system, I spent more times during an alpha fixing. I think alpha 15, I built next to nothing and just spent pretty much the full 6, 7 months fixing old crap and never ever getting there. That's why when I started again, I made a set of prefabs that I haven't really done much with, because this set of prefabs, as long as it's relatively stable and brought through the different versions, it'll always be good to use in the world editor. So the Alpha 17 one that you've seen is probably what I'm calling my little project demo map now. And yes, there'll be a version of that fairly soon, to be honest, because it's the best example I've got of why you would want to download a prefab that looks like this. Because I mean, to someone who was just joining the stream now, they're like, yeah, "What the fucking hell? Why are you wasting your time just putting grass and random concrete pillars down?" But it's because there's a plan. I'll fire up. I mean, if you're going to be around for a little while, like 10, 15 minutes or so, I want to quickly check some of the other sets, but I'll load up the project map before I cut this off, because hopefully a lot of these prefabs that had missing blocks that weren't spawning in should now appear. So there's like the starting grid for the racetrack. Random. I think these are prefabs that I've already looked at. So like, yeah, this is another example of just theft. The pimps made a prefab that had, I believe, this exact bit of billboard hanging off the side, and then I copy it, make a few different size shapes, and then save it here. So if I ever need to copy and paste it in, boom, got one. But I'm not going to bother too much with them. That's not mine. That's not mine. That's not mine. Definitely not mine. So sewers. Well, the missing blocks are fixed at least. But whenever I'm making sewers now, it'll... oh my god, I've got a horrible something. There'll be some naughty block lurking around in here somewhere. I'll have to have a... Oh, get off! God damn. Ah, don't you just love... Right, I tell you what then. Just so my stream doesn't go to shit, let's pop Pill's editor on, hide that, and give it a good old Alt F4. Just bear with us just 2 seconds, we'll get that fired back up. And I'll just have to remember to stay the fuck out of the sewer prefab until I've had a look at it in Pill's editor. Here we go. Oh, you know what's going to happen as well when I load back into that. It's going to do it again, isn't it? I have to be quick. Because it remembers the last prefab. I can't remember how you clear this off as well. I remember someone putting a comment on one of my videos asking they'd done something and they were basically getting console spam as soon as they went into the editor, and there is something stupid you can do. I think it actually makes a save game. Let's just get the fuck out of this prefab before it does it again. Ah, so if you look, it hasn't actually saved me position. Because I did actually move into one of those bigger areas. I'll be honest though, the editors, I've not done too, wait, with prefabs that you shouldn't really be getting loads of null refs anyway, but I can say with absolute certainty that that's most likely a broken block. That just hasn't converted well. Test stuff, that's theirs. That's... Survivor site extras. Oh, no token. That looks like a nice little... Oh, pool table, man. What? Oh, it comes with... I was just about to say, it comes with light! Oh my god! No, it's the light on the roof, you fucking idiot. Right, I'm happy with the prefabs for now. I've just made a note that I need to do the highways and the sewers. So let's get out of here and we'll see how much of this loads up. So I'll go new game. Project test. Let's give that a minute or so. Oh, God's sake, let's get that off the screen as well. Because I remember making a larger section of the sewer and sticking it in the middle of the city and getting some errors when we were spawning in game, which I think might have been related to wonky sleeper groups. Yeah, I'm sure Racetrack is very harsh. Wait there. Yeah, ha ha ha. See, so X Custom, they're all combo pack prefabs. 4 apartments, X Custom, X Custom, X Custom. So again, this was the whole point of what I was saying earlier on. All those prefabs obviously broke at some point, and I'm hoping Magoli's fixed them, because if he has, I've just got to get the Alpha 19 version of the combo pack. I drop it back into my prefabs folder, and you know, we're hopefully up and running again. So I should be able to take that off, get rid of you. There we go. Okay, so the highway definitely seems to be there now. Yeah, most of my, in fact, I think all of my prefabs are back now. Yeah, there's a clusterfuck if ever you seen one. Oh well, I can actually demonstrate quite nicely what I was talking about with the docks earlier on. I'll just let this. What's the FPS like? Yeah, I apologise if you've got old computers, but so with the exception of the terrain getting sucked up to the asphalt layer of the bridge, I mean, you know, a scrapyard, a little dock area, it was just a really nice little way to fill the space. In fact, we should be able to spawn. So I mean, bearing in mind I'm like game stage 0 or whatever you start at on an easy game. That's still a lot. Yeah. Lots of sleepers. It is a zombie game after all though. Right. Well, yeah, I suppose the bridge is never going to collapse like this. What? Ha ha ha. Fucking turkeys. So there's the park, and there's the good old reflection tower. It's just not helping the FPS in this part of the city at all. Unless, yeah, that's a sleeper volume error, that. Because we have a full section of sewer, but no way to actually get into it. I, the problem that I had is I went from using a 4K monitor, which I would normally play in 1440p, and I used to get fairly stable 55 to 60 FPS most of the time, tweaking the settings. And then when I got my new monitor, I'm using a 3440 by 1440 ultra wide now, but it does 120 Hz, and after playing with the high refresh, you can't go back. So instead of sitting at 90 FPS, I'm now at 60. So I mean, yeah, there's a noticeable drop, but no, performance-wise itself in general, I'm finding a lot better in 19. I was able to tweak the settings. I found a really good guide on Steam. I'll show you what I'm using actually, because the big surprise for me was terrain quality. I never realised how many FPS just staring at the edges of the hills that with exposed stone and stuff like that were taken. So for the most part, it's fairly stable. And again, I mean, this is generally moving around a bit faster than what you would in game, but you could still pop around here at ground level in your any bike and shouldn't be too bad. Is that floating? So see things like this, they've obviously just adjusted the prefab somehow, and its offset's changed a bit. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, this map itself, this middle bit's mostly empty. Deliberately so. Everything in the middle was like placed here by me, but we do have a few vanilla sort of style cities. Oh, there's the military base actually. Now this is going to look a bit fucked up because some of the prefabs have actually changed that I used. Ah, so I've got the hangars back. Again, this was me little trench system. I've actually got another military base in a it's the first one that I built when I was kind of like, actually I can just chop their military POI up and make my own. And then this was kind of the evolution of that idea, going, well, why just make a little military style POI when you can actually take a bit of ownership over a decent sized area? And I fucking love the runway. Yeah, there, let's make it nighttime so we can see all the fancy lights. It's just weird how you kind of, the way that they blink in and out. And again, all of these could be loaded with sleepers. You know, just extra ways to get zombies in discreetly without people knowing. Oh, quite a nice airplane with lovely smooth sides, if I don't say so myself. Now these barracks have definitely changed because they were not this big when I put them down originally. In fact, I don't even know, is that definitely just one prefab? Oh, we don't have the same. We don't have the same options. But yeah, this is definitely new. Still nothing underneath. So for the most part, this map is, there's no reason why you couldn't enjoy a survival game on it once a few things like the layouts are corrected and things have been shuffled around a bit, which over the next week or so shouldn't take too long. The main thing I don't like is sending things out that are going to give people errors, because even if I know that the error's harmless and I'm going to fix it, it's on the to-do list or whatever, people just seem to have a habit of picking out fucking silliest little things. So it's errors are bad. That's the general rule of thumb, even when they're not. But all of this is going to need readjusting. So how they literally just added the trenches around that? Because I'm sure that ran straight at the corner originally. Made a base in this. I've actually done a horde night from this prison. But yeah, check these bad boys out. They have loads of stuff. You know, and this is day one. Can you imagine what this is like on day 200? Where's the other military base? Ah, so this was going to be the airport. That's what I had originally started doing the hangars and stuff for, but decided to scale it back a bit. So if you're in the habit of building like a terminus, ruined or whole, runways, planes, air traffic control towers, you know, got a lovely little island here, just waiting for that sort of stuff. Again, another fucked up bridge that actually will stay around now that the terrain glitches into it. I wonder if there's a tasteful way that I could just keep this here like that. Ah, except there's water underneath as well. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to fix that. This bridge is worse than the other one though. You even look at this bridge wrong and the whole thing collapses. Like the whole bloody thing. Especially these top areas. It looks pretty. I love the layout of the bridges. I think the pattern in that looks really, it took us ages to build them. So that's the racetrack. We'll have a little look at that in a second. I'm sure there's another military base kicking around. Ah, no, actually, I think said military base was like here somewhere, and then I spliced this whole section of the map in. So maybe it isn't there. Right, anyway, if we have a quick look at the racetrack, and again, you'll see what I mean about the pit area. So these were those totally stupid, random little prefabs. Like, why would you ever have them there, Slaan? It's like, well, how else are you going to spawn sleepers in this little area here? The simple answer is you're not. This is the weird corner pieces. So I mean, there's a lot to be said about the blending and the smoothness of the actual track, but you can get around it. The bridge itself is obviously it suffers the same rules of all building in the game. So one idea would be to maybe make custom blocks that had impossible or cheating stability. I don't know, like an air block, something that you could walk through. But I don't really want to have people download a mod to make the prefabs and the map work. The one thing I've liked about all the stuff that I've always done is you can just chuck it in your game directory and that's it. You can use it. And I think as long as it stays that simple, I mean, don't get us wrong, there's some really good mod launchers. I see HAL's actually released a new mod launcher. Well, that's relatively new to me. I'd never seen it before to replace SDX, and that whole side of the community seems to be really, well, much more advanced than what it was when I left. But I'm much more of a vanilla kind of guy. I'd like to keep it as easy to use to as many people as possible. And if you want to throw custom blocks and all that sort of stuff in, then you know you're more than welcome to take a copy and just do it. But no, the only other thing I know of that someone tried that actually worked with the bridge was to make the whole bridge, all the individual sections, trader areas, and that stops people from being able to break the blocks. Because the thing is you can walk on it and it's okay. It's not until it recalculates, and once you break a single block, it recalculates the stability, and that's when it starts to come down. So if you prevent people from being able to break the blocks, you should never, in theory, have that problem. But then you've got the other issue with the constant dinging as zombies attack it or chase people across it. And what the hell is army truck? I certainly didn't put. I wonder what they've changed that now uses this ID. I thought they used a naming system now. Definitely haven't seen that before. Which is pretty funny coming from my own fucking city. So I mean, re-adding the combo pack, you're going to see, wait, anywhere that's just got a hole that looks like something should be there probably actually has a prefab to go there. Lasman's Galleria goes there, I believe. I think this is Lasman's McDonald's. Can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but it is missing a lot of stuff. Pill and Top Minder's art gallery was in there. I think the Resident Evil mansion that Magoli made was there. The cathedral sits in the middle of the park. So still lots of empty space, lots and lots of stuff to do, but still lots of things to see, lots of things to explore. Now this was just me having to mess around making little residential areas with the same style of building. So one there. There's the old traders on the highway. So yeah, I mean, I'll get it in a releasable sort of state relatively quickly within the next, I'd say 2 weeks max. Shouldn't take us more than a week really. The bulk of the work with the prefabs is I mean, when I say ready, I mean get it just so people can download it and put it on without the game melting down too much. It's obviously always going to be a work in progress. I don't think I'll ever fully finish. But at this point, I'm also considering the idea of making a fresh map. I think, you know, taking a step back when you've built something like this, you can see all the little things that you would have done differently. And after giving up the original Slaan Hatton to start again, so to speak, with a new sort of way, I massively improved the way that I thought about things, the way I approached bringing the stuff into the map, even the way I built and started setting up some of the prefabs and making these little sets. I built all of these with using them in the world editor in mind. So I fucking love the highway as well. So square and so blocky and so stupid, but at the same time it's just such a unique sort of thing to have splitting your map up. But that's all vanilla stuff. It's only an 8K map unfortunately, but there's still plenty there. I mean the canyon, so we've got the construction site. Where I toyed around with the idea of using the Fun Pimps mine shaft. They've got a couple of POIs that have the mine shafts in. Maybe he's chopping up the different corridors to make a set of prefabs and actually do a mine shaft sort of style dungeon with a few entrances around this quarry. And again, it's another example of would have been just empty space. I've called it a quarry, and it's a quarry because there's construction themed prefabs, cranes, and all sorts of other stuff that you might find in a quarry. And to be honest, when you actually break it down, vanilla prefab, vanilla prefab, vanilla prefab, stolen from vanilla prefabs, it's like, what did I really do? Just decided I wanted to build a quarry, and what do I need to build a quarry? Well, I don't know, quarry looking buildings. And there's people who, you know, could spend 100 hours or more just on a little area like this, whereas I'm trying to build a full bloody map. So I kind of started things off, get enough of the idea going so that when I say, "Oh, quarry," you can go, "Yeah, I can see where you're going," and then I move on. I think likes of this around here was just a tidied up vanilla spawn, and then we just packed it up with a lot more prefabs. So I think letting random gen or something like nitrogen doing the bulk of the work to get your base map, maybe it's feeding it a custom height map or a map design that you kind of want to work on. Letting random gen do its thing and then just tweaking the road maps and stuff like that from there. Because pretty much all of these roads, with the exception of the green bordered ones, were hand drawn. So you've got like the main sort of highway to there, and then everything else. And you do this sort of shit in an afternoon. It's there's nothing even in this area, but it's a lot easier to come into the world editor and just fill this full of buildings. And the only reason it's not full of buildings is like I've said a few times, this kind of started to become more of a demo map, just to show off the different areas. I think a proper survival map needs designed to be a proper survival map. So yes, it'll do. Yes, it's... Oh, forms. So even silly things like this, you know, like an actual farm-sized cornfield around the farm. Although they seem to have changed these quite a bit. There's friggin' hardly anything in it. So to me, it's like I would take. In fact, I think they've actually changed these prefabs as well. But I would take that building, I would chop it in half. Well, not in half, but that's two buildings in my eyes. And then, you know, one could be put over there, one could be put on there, and we're extending this area from being just a single farm prefab to a farm area, a little agricultural zone. Take the silo off, have a few silos lined up. So yeah, I spent most of 17 just dashing around this particular map, building up these little areas and coming up with the little ideas and the prefab sets. Kind of with the intention of sort of one day just going, okay, this is going to be the map, this is the design, this is what I'm really wetting my lips over, and boom, just getting in there and building it. Because as soon as I know what I want, it's a lot easier to, you know, get people on board and help. What's that? That's all vanilla stuff as well. I think Hernan's prefabs went down here. He done a couple of complexes, housing complexes. I think there's like 5 or 6 residential buildings. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we actually had a full survival run through on it, but didn't really do all that much. I mean, other than the null errors from here, from the sleepers, I think the map itself should be relatively clean. I mean, you can drive from the highway there all the way to there uninterrupted, but because of the route that you take, because it kind of does a loop. So there's sort of 2 main ways to get across, and within the first, I don't know, 2 weeks of the playthrough, you can guarantee those bridges have both collapsed. So it gets a bit, I think the sooner they add boats, the better. But no, I mean, considering 3 days ago I hadn't even really loaded this up to see if anything was broken, and now most of my prefabs have no missing blocks at least. What's going on over here? Okay. So, you know, they've got terrain. Ah, actually, they have terrain blocks. What are these densities? 120. So why the hell do mine want to suck through the fucking floor? I wonder if they've changed this since I've last ran through it as well. Seeing a lot of things that are the same but different. Let's get back over here because I want to have a quick look at the edit of that. I just want to have a look at the section of sewer that's in the city that has the sleepers in, if I can find it. Oh, it's probably one of the last pieces. So these we had letters at the end is red, yellow, so it lets you know that it's designed to plug a red and a yellow section of sewer. What the hell was that? Yeah, that's got to be them there. In fact, that is definitely them. Yeah, that's a big ass piece of sewer, that. And there's the sleepers. Really? No sleepers in you? Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Hello. Now what was the properties? I'm probably better off actually looking at the XMLs, because I am really rusty when it comes to sleepers. I was always able to get the basic groups working and spawning, but I never had a super understanding. Do you know what it is that sewer bear makes? It reminds us of the Fun Pimps one that I believe is in Nava's game. You go running in, you fall down, and then the fucking bear just kills you. There's no way of getting out of that alive. So they can do it, well, you know, I can do it. I don't really understand what the problems are with these groups. Generic zombies. Well, there's 14 sleepers in here. It's only trying to spawn 6 or 7. That one was fine. I wonder if it is sleepers that was causing that. Game 14. Now I'm fairly certain they're the two sections that are actually dropped into the city. Oh, hold on, that looks like a big ass piece of sewer as well. Nope, no sleepers though. Oh, yeah. So 16 trying to spawn 3 or 4. 18 trying to spawn 2 or 3. I mean, I don't even think I'm doing anything wrong per se for how many blocks is there. I've got no idea what this shit means up here now. That's totally different. Sleeper volume trigger. So does that mean the volume's always there to be triggered? Triggered under certain conditions? I don't know. Probably something like that. Yeah, so I definitely need to get something incorporated in the map though, but it's just like, how do you use? I made these sewers and I still never really figured out how I was going to use them. I think I mentioned a couple of days ago on one of the streams, I still don't even have a set way to get in and out unless you are going to just make a hole in the roof. And I deliberately encased them in concrete because I've always thought when you get trapped and lost down here, you need to follow the system to get back out. I don't just like the idea of someone being able to break the wall and then tunnel up. So once you go in and get lost, you're committed to finding the zombie bear. But for the most part, I'm quite happy with how the prefabs have carried over. I think the tents in the military set with the corners, it's probably the main fuck up. Other than that, it's going to be like replacing all of the abandoned cars and things that were deleted with the missing blocks. because I know the car wrecks was definitely one of the items that was changed in them. Is there anything else I want to do before we go? Yeah, I think maybe the next stream that I put on, I'll sit and get things fixed up and finalised, and then maybe we'll do one. Right, funny you say that about the treatment plant, because I actually had a sewage treatment. There's a good prefab that you can use as well. I had combined waterworks by with Siegel or Siegel. It was a German guy from who was making prefabs like years ago. It was his prefab and the waterworks that the pimp's done, and it was actually underneath a bridge as well, and it worked quite nice, but that was part of the Alpha 15 city that just never got ported through. It was a massive broken just mess by the time. I mean, I still have all versions of the project. If you still had an Alpha 12.5 install, I can give you things that would load up that would blow your mind. As basic and as crap as they would look. If you could live with going back to the days of seeing the air fog in the distance and no mesh files, no zombies anywhere, no sleepers. There's definitely sacrifices made along the way, but I mean, it's not always been for the worse. I don't think we need to do anything with these. Like I say, a lot of the time these are just random. But things like this go back to how the pimps used to do their original cities, where you just have the square city block with the 4 random buildings on it. Back in the days where you could just really take the piss with that sort of stuff. And even things like this. I think this is the prefab that the art gallery sits on. It's just a big nothing with a big hole in it. You know, you see areas here where the monorail cuts across. So like I say, all of these city blocks were made to measure for a particular part of the city. So if I was going to build a sewer entrance, it would maybe... Actually, if we pull that one back up. This one here. So if my memory serves us correctly, you've got a 2-block pavement, then a curb, and then you've got the main road that travels past, and you've probably got roads that run down, if not these sides, then down the sides of the city blocks that would join to this. So an entrance to the sewer could be a prefab that was built into this city block itself, have an actual dedicated way to climb down. It might just be a little discreet storm drain down a back alley in between the little flower pots there. It might be an actual maintenance hatch with a proper door and stairs going down into the system that are, I don't know what you would call them around the world, but like your council workers or your local maintenance men would use. You could make a prefab that was designed, let's just say this hole was a bit smaller. I could make a prefab that was designed to fit in this hole that would link to the tunnel underneath and blend in with the scenery up top. This is probably how the subway stations would get done, because again, subway is another thing that I used to be a massive fan of in Alpha 12 that kind of got dropped. Well, the sky, I mean, when you look at the size of the map, the sky's kind of your limit, and I mean, even in the original Slaan Hatton, I had a massive section of street that just had the centre sections of the road were blown away, so you had a few different holes and ways to climb into the system, and it was just another way in. I've always liked the idea of just someone entering the city hub and just like, oh, what's that over there? And then wandering off down a back alley and seeing just little details that kind of make sense. Finding a storm drain, realizing that they can open it and get down there, and 4 or 5 left turns later, and you get killed by a zombie bear, and you know for a fact you ain't getting that backpack back if you can even remember how to get down there. And I just think filling in the emptiness in between the buildings has always been like a personal goal of mine. We have a lot of neglected empty space. And even if it's something as simple as a fucking bus stop, you know, I kind of approach the city as let's get the road grid done. Let's put bus stops at make sense places. Let's put a few gas stations at some make sense places. Fill in the amenities, and by the time you've put the stuff down that kind of makes sense, then there's not really a lot left other than the main prefabs to fill the gaps with. Says the guy with one of the biggest unfinished maps in the world. But yeah, the airport's something I would definitely like to flesh out. But most of the other little groups that I've made now are just ready to be used or to take extra additions in. But yeah, once the links go up, you are all always more than welcome to take copies, make your own versions of. You could even send us copies back, and we'll make the pack even bigger. I need to get back onto the forums and get a new forum post up. I see even the forums have changed since I was last on. Like, so out of touch in some ways. I dread to go back and dig up the old Project Slaan thread and see how many unread replies there's been. I do feel kind of bad in some ways, but in others, I think, I've sunk easily 3,000 hours plus into building prefabs and map making over the years. So, to quote George R.R. Martin, it's fucking ready when it's ready. Yeah, well, your barricades and your survivor tents, that's kind of the whole point of when you start to look at the military pack. It isn't just things that you might find on a base. I think I do actually have some road barriers in there. But like the guard towers and the watch towers are all usable things. And to me, even if it's... Yeah, we've got a good example here. I mean, like things like the billboard there, even if I only use it once or twice, if it's there just to be used, it's saved, I don't know, what, 20 minutes? You build it quickly. You think, oh, I don't like it that way. I'll rebuild it. I'll rebuild it. I'll rebuild it. Okay, what kind of way? I'm happy with it now. Just copy paste. That's why usually at the beginning of an alpha, the first thing I do is tend to go through all the new prefabs and just pick out all the silly little, because I mean, like the bus stop, everything, most of the stuff that I've used or that I've made smaller prefabs out of has come from either the Pimp's prefabs or from a third party prefab. Just a shameless thief. But I don't know. I think the effort really shows in all the little details. So we've done military, monorail. Yeah, so I'm going to leave a little scribble with myself that I need to do my tents. Just tab out. Oh god, the thought of having to write another change log. Corner tents. Highway. Ha 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 ha. Do you know, it's not that I'm a visionary, I just... When I first got stuck into 7 Days to Die around about Alpha, I think Alpha 8, we first started playing it seriously in survival. Alpha 9, we might have skipped, and I believe 10 was random gen. And as soon as random gen came out and I seen the first attempts at the cities with the city blocks, and I was like, damn, we could really play the full game in a dense city. And that's just kind of what the dream was from day one. How can I make it happen? And Christ, I wonder how many hours I've wasted just trying things out that ultimately didn't work. But every mistake made is a lesson learned, so that's why I quite like the idea of being able to stream a bit more live like this, build as I go, and then maybe answer the questions. that people might have. Because if at this point, I mean, me editor tutorial is kind of a little bit dated, but it still covers the basics, and are not enough to kind of explain how or why you might use some of the buttons. But I don't know. A lot of people keep asking us like, how did you make the map? How did you edit the terrain? Or where do I start? And a lot of them things I've never ever really been able to show off. But we're coming up to 9:30 now local time. It's about time for me to go and get some food. So it's been awesome having a chat with you, Blunderbuns. Dominating the chat all by yourself. But the company for people who are watching it on YouTube at a later date is most welcome. You are always welcome to come in and have a natter. And hopefully over the next few weeks we'll start to see some new stuff, or at least a map that's a little bit more playable. Because my main focus at the minute, get the prefabs fixed, or at least get them workable, and then get the demo map back up and running so that people can have a mess around. And then at least, even if it's a while before I put something proper together, you have still got something to mess around with in the meantime. Because I know for a fact as soon as I hit the forums, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that one, I'm going to have to read up on, and two, I'm probably going to want to download and try and have a look at, and all sorts of other stuff. So we'll see how it goes. So until the next time, thank you very much for watching, and I shall catch you all later on.